Hey fam, super excited to be on here and to share about what's been going on. I just wrote out a newsletter sharing about a lot of things, and a big part of that and a big part of that has been just this fear of what to share, how to open up. And lots of times it's just can be tough because I feel that how can I be enough in your eyes? How can I share about what I'm doing in a way that is transmits really the excitement and what I get to see every day and the lives that I get to share in? And the easy answer is I can't. I It is not my responsibility to worry about how you will receive what I'm doing. All I can do is share about it in the best way that I can and hope that it'll be a blessing for everyone and anyone who hears it. And so, I just wrote a newsletter about that and just some kind of different things in my heart in this world and these kind of burdens that I've been trying to bear and figure out. But what I've realized is that I can't figure it all out. All I can do is share about it and be real about what I'm going through and what I'm seeing. And so I just wanted to share just some stories about what we've been seeing, what's been going on in the neighborhood and going on in Angie and I's life in missions here in Mexico. And just to start, missions for us is just walking alongside people. We are all missionaries. We all have a mission in this world. And just an encouragement for you as well, that even when you just take time to listen to someone, that you can be saving their lives and that we all have a part, and it doesn't have to be some big thing, but that God only needs our yes and just our step of faith. And when we say yes to God, He'll use us. We don't have to be, college graduates in theology to just love on someone and share God's love. And doesn't always have to be with crazy words about Jesus's blood and all these things. Sometimes just listening to someone can change their life. And so, I love you, fam. Big hugs. And this week, yesterday, first off today, just writing out this newsletter and just being vulnerable. A lot of things for me recently has been processing this fear of man. And, I always want to communicate well. And for the longest time, I always just had that in the back of my mind. So I've just been feeling a lot of freedom in that area just to be me and share that with you. And then also just clarity, because sometimes in missions, like, oh, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? Our heart is to walk alongside people, but God's been bringing a lot of clarity that if there's something more that He wants to do, that we can ask Him, He will show us, and that He will show us His heart and give us strategies to how to overcome different obstacles that we see around us. How can we actually help the people around us? And so what God has showed us till now is just to be present with people and love on them and listen to them and encourage them, and then helping out in practical things that we can. And so what's that been looking for us recently? Well, just some kind of general life stuff. 1st of October was Angie's birthday, and it was actually a holiday here because there's a new president, and usually the president gets inaugurated in December, but they decided to do it now, and so no one worked. And so we just had a big family breakfast with everyone, all the aunts and uncles. We ate sopes, which is kind of like the tortilla, the dough of tortillas, and the edges are raised up, and you put beans and chorizo or different things in there. And so that was just a beautiful time in family. We actually faced a little bit of a conflict this week. It's interesting. Sometimes the enemy attacks you with condemnation, like you're not doing enough. And so for years since we've been here, I'm always playing with one of Angie's cousin's daughters. There's 3 of them. Now they're like 6, 8, and 10, and always swinging around, playing with just the genuine heart. And the mother, who, has her difficulties as well, she was chewing on me and saying that I'm being too tough with them. And maybe she's right, but the way that she presented that, was really tough, and we had to process that. And so that was interesting. But learning how to resolve conflicts in family isn't easy. And so that was something that we faced also that same day. We actually got 2 kittens that were actually one of Angie's cousins. The cats that they had 3 babies, and we ended up with two of them. And one's name is Domitila, and the other one's name is Ceviche. And so that's been just a bundle of fun. And yeah, still living here in the community, this house, working, relating with our neighbors. And I've been drinking yerba mate and sharing that with kind of the older lady who lives here, and just being in relationship and connection with them. It's been really powerful too. Angie's sister, who is turning 18, she's out of high school and had been wanting to make money. So Angie, recommended, hey, well, let's go get some baked goods from Costco and you can sell them. And so they've been doing that. And then I've been helping her sell, teaching her how to sell, to be confident and things like that. And that's been really beautiful. The other week, every time before we go out, we pray. And every time she's basically sold all of the stuff she has. And just to see her, helping her also to see different perspectives, to see longer term, 2-week periods, and plan out and strategize and things like that. And even just life perspectives about setting goals and having vision, dreams of what you want to work towards. And maybe it hasn't been super effective, but when we're learning these things, it takes time. So she's moving slow, but she's been getting at it and going for it. And for me, I guess I've had to learn, my goal isn't some crazy outcome, but just to love on her and be there for her sister, Angie's sister, in what we can. And so that's been really encouraging. And the other day it was really powerful. We went and sold, and then we sat down for like 2 hours and just going through perspectives and helping her see these different things, and knowing your ship before you can innovate, and business principles, seeing about your price, your time invested, and really lots of times in life we stay the same because we never really analyze kind of our pain points. So then we don't want to innovate into something new. And so helping her see how she can kind of map out these perspectives, map out her life before she's hit with all of life's responsibilities. And so it was just really powerful. And then Angie's mom and stepdad actually chimed in, and both of them said, we wish we would have had someone sit down with us and help us see these perspectives. And so that was just really powerful. And then, walking down the street right after that, ran into Angie's mom's godmother and we were talking about the same things for about 30 minutes. And, Angie was already wondering where I was. And then walking back, kept walking towards the house. And there's this guy we walk down the street every day, and we see him, and he has kind of like a semi truck. And, we chat with him. We usually just say, hey, but this time I actually chatted and talked with him for a while, introduced myself. And we were talking about the same thing, life perspectives. And he was very on board about, how a lot of people are retired and they don't know what to do with themselves, but he's retired. He's working on his truck and finding joy and fulfillment in things, and even processing emotions he was chatting about. And so we made this beautiful connection. And then after a little bit, and I'm like, oh, Angie's probably worrying where I'm at, because I hadn't, let her know where I was. And we got to the corner of our house, and there's this bus driver who I've gotten to know, and his wife, Veronica and Ruben. And when we were selling bread the other day, knocked on the door, and Veronica answered and actually told me that Ruben had actually had surgery, that he actually had something where the feces were going into his bladder. And oh man, so he got surgery and he wasn't doing very well, but he seems to be doing better. And so he was tired. And anyway, so as I was walking back this day, I saw him out there, and I went up to him and I was able to pray for him and see him. And then, so that was cool. And then Angie came down and we went up and had breakfast and everything. But yeah, so that's just a little bit about the community. It's still been beautiful just with the soccer community. It was really cool the other day. We had a soccer game, and it's kind of rainy out, and the games are at like 9:30 p.m., and so I didn't know if we were going to go, but one of this guy offered to give me a ride, who I've gotten to know. And so it was him, and in the car was his wife and his daughter, and we're just chatting. And and a lot of times, I kind of, people are in their own world and stuff, so a lot of times people aren't really asking me about my life and stuff, but he was. And so, sharing about missions and this, but, missions, can mean different things for different people. But for us, it's walking alongside people in this. And, we get to the field and I asked him how he met his wife, and it turns out that they met in a Christian church. And so I was like, oh, so this is why, we're here today, and so we just kept talking, and he said, he actually ended up leaving the church because his family had always been involved in the church, but he's just seen a lot of ugly things in that and whatnot. And so yeah, it was just really beautiful connecting with him and his wife and establishing this connection. And we'll see when we can get together in a later date. I mean, even going back into September, Independence Day here, and just a beautiful time with family and even friends from soccer. So that's just a little bit about what's been going on here. Angie's doing well. We're still in her visa process, so they let us know like 2 months in advance before her interview, and her interview is the last stage. And after she gets approved, then we have 6 months to move to the U.S. So that's coming up, and we're just praying about all that. And then in the middle of that, we're also praying about having kids and, starting to have get pregnant, and just thinking about everything, and even time frame as far as like moving and her being pregnant, and then also the doctors and everything that we need to be there in the States, financially, we're going to probably need to raise like 3 times more support than what we have now. But God has just been bringing a lot of freedom in so many areas, that we are free just to be his children and talk to him about what we need and come to him in our true identity and processing things we're afraid of, and just stepping out in the joy that he has before us, not afraid of what everyone's thinking, but just walking in obedience and trusting in that. And if there's something more that God wants us to do, that he'll tell us. And so we're just working on that process. Actually looking at, it's tricky because, we don't have a car here, but we're looking at actually getting a car there in the States. So we found this really good deal on a car. But we would also like to have a van here to be able to take the family places and stuff. So that's just a little bit about everything that's been going on here, working with the family, being there. One other cool thing that was sweet the other week in soccer, after the soccer game, hanging out with the guys, and one of the guys, he's like, hey, Bryce, I wanted to ask you, about the difference between kind of Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, and Christians. And it was so cool because I was able to talk to him about, what do you see the difference are? And, what do you think the point of any faith is? To know God. And so is it mainly just to hear people talk about God, or is it for you to experience God? And we went into this kind of the whole conversation that was really powerful, that I saw God move through as well. And here, I've been working on my kitchen. I've been staining and building up all of my my cabinets. And so that's been really good. Almost there, assembling those for our kitchen sink and our kitchen cabinets. So that's been a lot of work. So that's just a little bit of everything, fam. And again, sometimes my tendency is to share and want to convince about the validity of everything we're doing and make it sound so valuable and important in your eyes. But that's not my responsibility. I just want to share and be vulnerable and share what it looks like, because for any of us, when it comes to missions and wanting to serve God, it's never some perfect thing. And I think that's how God keeps us depending on him, going to him every day. Because imagine if we had this perfect system of how to bring people to God, then lots of times we would kind of maybe veer away from actually depending on God. And so yeah, fam, here we are depending on God, coming as I am, not perfect, and just trying to share a little bit about what's going on. So love you, fam, and all encouragement to you and what you're going through, and just the light that you are in your life. I would love to hear from you if there's anything we can be praying for. For us, if you just want to keep praying for the community, keep praying for Angie and I in our identity work, as far as letting go of fear and then just diving into that creative space with God about the strategies that we can use to bring to this community and not limiting ourselves, you know. And yeah, if you're interested in hearing more about identity, there's a guy you can look up named Jamie Winship on YouTube, and just powerful. This guy is in foreign countries working with terrorist groups, all in identity work, to where these groups are actually disbanding because they learn to not fear and not live in that scarcity mindset anymore. And so yeah, that's just a little bit of what's going on, and all the blessing and hugs and encouragement to you, fam. Big hugs from Angie and I here in Mexico City. Love ya. Talk to you soon.